For our Rush fleet and the Mort fleet.
Welcome, everybody, to Wednesday night at the crib. Hope everybody had a decent raid. And we're going to talk about all the changes that occurred to countermeasures, PvP, and some things that worked and didn't work, and the new FM prizes. Everybody's up at I don't know, at least the new
Let's
drone.
Just call it the green train wreck.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. They mentioned a lot of things in the state of the game. The first thing was how they were going to improve the quality of the releases, and then we had what we had happen. But let me go ahead and introduce everybody from left to right on your YouTube screen. The Earth.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Grimace.
Hey everybody.
Padre Prince. And he's not on mute. Or maybe he walked away.
Oh, no. Hello.
Hello. You got to use the right side of the microphone. And this is Hefe. And I guess let's go ahead and get started with the slides. We'll talk about bug fixes, which is, again, I think it's a limited list relative to what's actually going on in the game. Fix an issue where repairs would cause an SOS. I think that's been an ongoing issue for a long time, depending on what's going on. Fixed issues with R&D being unavailable. Okay. Anybody have much to say on either one of those bug fixes? They're pretty boring.
I'm actually affected by the R&D one.
Are you really?
Yeah, I don't do that stuff.
Okay. Huh, what R&D level are you?
I'm at like 28.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, oh, I'll finish it because during this long boring stretch, and I couldn't. I was like, that's lovely.
Okay. Well, it helps with quite a few things. Critical chance. There's some things in there that might help you out.
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Well, in the last two, it's only is it map speed and refit bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, 5% modifier, I think.
Yeah.
All right. That slide is.
And Six-Pack wants to have asking Potter to have Sun hit his base. He wants feedback.
Have Sun hit it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll relay the message.
I think he says I think he said Six-Pack his sector. So I think he's in the same sector. I don't know why he's asking you to do it, but
asking me to ask instead of asking. I don't know. Friend
okay.
of a friend.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Let's move on to the next slide, which I think is just sort of a general raid review. There's no slides associated with it. From what I could tell, there was a lot more points in this raid, and I think there was a lot more participation across the board. I don't know if this dealt with the price of the tokens, or people were more prepared for these targets than they were the last time, or they saw something else. But what is everybody's impressions of reinforcements?
Not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
They sorted out the damage. The scatter fleet actually became fairly viable.
So yeah, the Darkwing helped. I think the Darkwing was very good for people that are kind of caught in between. So they've got half scatter, half missile fleet if they were trying to refit it and just didn't get it finished. It reduced the damage a fair amount. Even if you just managed to fit one on, it cut your damage considerably. But obviously, if you got all three on, you were in pretty good stead for the raid.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was easier. I didn't really see that much difference with the first Darkwing. It's when I put the second one on, I started to see a damage reduction personally. I thought there was it almost felt like a tech raid with the amount of points that were required of us, because there was a lot of There was a lot of PvP stuff in there. There was a whole mix, and I think it was. I liked the idea that they were, even though they're sort of useless, relatively useless turrets at this point. At least the new cat mortars. I called them the explosive halo. But I thought it was a good idea that they first released some of the defensive stuff in the raid as opposed to bounty. As opposed to, I like the idea of releasing the stuff to defend your base in the raid and the offensive stuff in bounty. Just for players that don't do PvP as much, it gives them a chance to get this technology to defend their base, doing what they like to do, the PvE stuff, and giving them a chance to build stuff prior to bounty.
Okay. I think some of the barriers for the lower level players are still a little bit too high to get stuff. And I'm not one of those people that thinks everyone should get everything, but you got to make it a little bit easier for them to get stuff that they need.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you want people to build manticores, they've got to be able to get them in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't personally like having the Makara Manicore in the lock store. I thought that should have been in the unlock store because it doesn't make a huge difference, but it's much more difficult for somebody to achieve it that did not have it previously, because by putting it in the lock store, it basically increased its price significantly if you already had it before and weren't able to get it. Having to get the extra 40 million before you even had the opportunity to purchase it.
Well, yeah, because it made it effectively 80 million.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that part of it. But yeah, the Darkwing was a huge thing that I think everybody should try and put at least 3 on their fleet. The other thing I've noticed, I don't know if there's another place to talk about it. My original plan, and I'm like part the way through it, is to build 2 Manicore fleets. I mean, I have 2 Mancaras built, and then I have like 2 Mancaras, 1 fully built, 1 shell. I have 4 fully built scatters, and I have 3 that are blank/missile ones. And at this point, I don't know that I need the second fleet, because it feels like with this whole proto thing that's going on, that our raid fleets are going to be less than optimal going on to become our chore fleets. It feels like a whole seed change in the game.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you're looking at it, you've got now the P-tide for getting uranium and the percent for getting base parts. So obviously, the next one that's going to come out is going to be the assault.
Yeah, the Proto Apollo.
So you're going to have the Proto Apollo, and then you're going to have something else, the next one.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, they fired the person that names things about 3 or 4 months ago. I think the last original name that we had was the Chameleon or the Inferno Dragon. But everything has become at Proto in front of it or add a new number behind it for everything else. Okay.
We're just going to get a Proto 2 here pretty soon. It's not going to be a Proto something 2. It's just going to be a Proto 2.
The prototype.
Yes.
The prototype seeker.
Yeah, I wonder. And then there's going to be one flagship to unite them all. Yeah, the Proto.
That'll be the Proto Padre.
That'll be our Voltron.
Mm-hmm. There we go. You push for the Proto Padre. We'll see how that works out. Yeah. I still haven't got any traction on Hefe's junk, so we'll see. You try with the Proto Padre, you might have more success than I did. okay. I mean, there was a lot of points. There was a lot of tokens. They slashed the price of the tokens in half. You know, as far as the experience of doing it, it was a little bit odd that I found that the lower targets, you know, I guess they did it intentionally, and I guess it's probably a good thing. That the mana cores performed well in the levels they were supposed to perform well in. And then the Phoenix and the Skyfire performed well in the levels that they were supposed to perform well in. But the mana cores didn't, you know, they couldn't hit down as well as we've seen in previous raids. And I guess I can see that as possibly being a good thing, preventing players from just autoing 40s and 60s with their mana cores. But yeah, it seems like that was one of the things that they did.
I just tried hitting a 65 on auto, and I took like 18 minutes damage, and I was like, holy crap, man, like those must be tuned for the other fleets, because there's no way that they're that difficult.
Yeah. You know? Oh yeah, and Jordan asked, he says all this limited items are driving me nuts. The whole does anybody else think we saw the escalation weapons in the Cheetah and the Predator? I forget what the missile was named. You know, which would have cost you $300 million to get them both. I'm not really even sure what to think about them. I'm still a little bit leery that we're potentially going to be getting a escalation weapon for both sides in the next raid.
I wouldn't put them on.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get an escalation other than what we've got now. I think they were just bonuses for the people who wanted to go for the fully blank KD's holes. I think really more than anything.
I see. And okay, anything else on the raid? Like I said, from what I can tell, it's probably it looks like triple the amount of participation that we saw previously. At least for the people that like really tried to get through one side of the tree or the other. It really seemed to pick up quite a bit. So I guess it's good for them. And I did find it interesting the number of points that some of the people at the top of the leaderboard were piling on just to get that Katie's that you mentioned, Earth. So it's it was probably a quite a successful raid from Kixeye's perspective, from my guess, because there's no way those people put those points up with Katie's. It just seemed like way too many points, or just way too much time in their seat grinding away with Katie's. It just seems like the Katie's method wasn't fast enough to get several million points. I mean, I'm sorry, several billion points. Billion points, yeah.
Is that the highest we've ever seen as far as points totals for a raid?
I feel like I've seen higher, but I wouldn't say we've seen that many people with that many points before. It's always just a couple of outliers.
Yeah, the potentially might have gotten banned the next week, but yeah. Alrighty. I guess let's move on to the next slide. We talked about this on previous shows. The state of the game changes that occurred today. We were originally supposed to happen a week from now. The first one was the Tier 7 turret transition, where they let us know that the Tier 7 stacking bonus was previously calculated as being multiplicative, even though it showed up as being additive. And they've corrected the mechanics behind what we see, and now it is back to being additive, which lowers the damage output of the Tier 7 turrets significantly. And I know Padre's been out hitting some bases since then. I don't know about you, Earth, for defending your bases, or How is this part of the transition working so far, in your opinion?
It's working. Fleets are viable. You can actually drive in a base. For me, anyway. Yeah. So this seems to work a lot better, and a lot of the math and the hulls and even the flagship, which was a complete turd based on how they were doing the turret damage, is actually useful in some cases now.
Yeah, agreed. Pretty same opinion, really.
Okay. Alrighty. Grimace, you there? You have any thoughts on the tier 7?
No thoughts yet because I haven't really been playing today. So
okay. Alrighty. The other one is the countermeasure change, where they did basically two things. One, they discovered that there was an accidental plus 100% accuracy bonus associated with our fleets as it relates to countermeasures, and they thought they were too powerful the way that they were. And the other one dealt with multiple countermeasures that fire at multiple targets, making their reaction consistent, so that as far as I've explained tagging before, where basically a countermeasure will fire, or a group of countermeasures, this applies to your whole fleet, your whole side, would fire at a target, and if it tags, it would not fire at that again. And if it doesn't tag, it would keep on trying to shoot it down until it died. The countermeasures that tag now, meaning they only fire once at a projectile, as only fire once at missiles and once at rockets, and they will fire. All the countermeasures will now fire until they attempt to shoot it down or it's landed with the mortars. That was one change. There was both of the changes, the reduction, and this applies to PvP and PvE. And when they, in the state of the game, they said that they weren't going to have this impact the PvE part of the game. So they were going to change the targets in some ways to take care of that. But you want to click it one more time, Grimace? They're at this point, they're having to change the FM targets, the 111, the 112, the 103, and the 82, because people are taking significantly more damage, assuming because of this change at this point. And I think they've made multiple adjustments throughout the day. I don't know. I don't hit these targets, so I'm not sure how it was changed or worked out for anybody. Does anybody else have any more info?
I haven't hit one of those in a while. It's all one.
Okay.
1-7s.
I don't hit them, but I heard from people that originally in the 111s they were taking lots of damage, and now they're not taking as much. And then I saw that Rampage came out and said they were doing a second adjustment, I think, on the 111s. Even so they were changing it even more than they had before. So it may be better now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, you can. Does anybody have anything else to countermeasures?
It's changed a bit since earlier for 111s, from what I've heard from other people. A couple of my guys were hitting with icebreakers and found that the damage was really high, but it's dialed back to near enough what they were getting again. So it's still slightly higher. I've realised that in 85s and stuff like that, slightly higher damages, where I'd usually be doing it for like 2 to 3 minutes damage. You're looking at 6 now, so it's not instant repair on the map, which is just a pain in the ass. But
I see.
Yeah.
But does anybody think that this change needed to happen?
Wait, you mean the PvP in
No, the countermeasure thing.
Countermeasure? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't played around with the change enough yet to really say yes or no. But
Yeah, I think with the missiles in certain aspects, like with the Night Watch, yeah. But a lot of the rest of it, no. PvE environment, you should have just left it alone.
My only thoughts is this might change things in the
raid as well.
The TLC where they added in the elite countermeasures and people were trying to do it with the Skyfires and they were finding it pretty difficult. That theoretically should make that a little easier since those turrets aren't going to have that extra 100% accuracy boost. But I guess they'll find out if those come back around or when they come back around.
I'm not certain. I mean, the way they stated it, that ships had that.
I thought it was everything had that.
I don't know. I guess we could review it, but for some reason, I thought that they said ships. So
okay, well, maybe I'm wrong then. So maybe it won't make.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, ships. Ships stick in my mind as something. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know that because it was part of the whole base tuning thing. I don't think that people thought that the countermeasures in the bases were overpowered. I know there were some issues with the Night Watch and the Gales and whatnot dealing with mortars, and they cleared that up. But the plus 100% on the ships, that's I'm not sure it needed to be fixed.
Maybe they're looking forward. Maybe something's coming out that would have negatively impact. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
it was a weird thing for them to like pick out to say they were going to fix. In my opinion, it's just a weird adjustment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one more click. All right. Secure base. This was the intention of this was to prevent people that use nefarious methods to boost the power of their base, their turrets or whatnot. It went into place, and supposedly players that violated it in certain ways would get banned. I haven't seen a lot of bannings going on. Is anybody else?
We actually just had a guy get banned. He says it's due to chargebacks. I have no idea. I don't know why anyone would be using.
But that guy was banned. I think that guy was banned before the changes.
No, oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is why would you even need to stack anything before the changes? He says it was, he charged back whatever, but I don't know. You don't know what other people are doing in their base. So you've got 100 people in your alliance, and yeah, there's going to be a bad egg. But
speaking of which, hi George.
Yeah, speaking of bad
evening, everybody.
I smelled something.
I'm the bad egg. I'm sorry.
Here comes the train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would have needed that before the update at all.
Actually, Hefe, looking at these topics here, I do have kind of a question about the Tier 7 turret transition. We've kind of talked about it before, but I want clarification. Right now, with the Tier 7 bonuses that we have, some turrets are still doing more than minimum pass-through, correct?
As far as our as far as our as far as our understanding of everything, they are. If you have all the full kit, if
you have everything,
yeah.
Because I was just thinking, like, if it wasn't that way, because a lot of people are saying how easy bases are now. If it wasn't that way, then what would be, the purpose of even putting all those turrets in the game to begin with? It's kind of a weird. It's just kind of a weird thing or whatever. That I understand why they had to dial it back because they were way too powerful, but now it almost seems like it's too far the other way, maybe. I don't know. I guess I haven't seen enough of it to know.
The certain ships, like onslaughts, can still be damaged by missiles. I think the the impacted cruiser can still be damaged by missiles. I think right now your king is the missile cruiser because it can negate out until we get another ballistic set of turrets. But then I think we're getting a new MC3 to counter that. So it's sort of like what and what in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you should be able to at least do more than, pass through with something.
Yeah.
Over damage.
I mean, there's still the strategy of bringing the right ships and stuff and having the right builds and all that stuff, but they've got to be able to do more than that, Anyway.
I'm just curious about this turret transition. What are they transitioning to? Like a male, a female? It's very brave of them in today's hate culture. But yeah, so I think that all in all, I mean, the turret changes were necessary.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They had a couple of weeks. They did release it a little quicker than they said they were gonna, which I'm fine with because anyone at Kixeye right now is probably have balloons and confetti because I know everyone in my alliance, everyone in this world that I'm in Alpha is in a bubble right now.
Yeah.
That means people are hitting and spending on the fun part of the game. Which is when your adversary's not
I have to admit, I might have spent half of my ranking money on hitting last night.
Yeah. So it definitely. I know some people in my alliance who are budgeted for the game are like, well, I'm out of money. I've spent my allowance. So yeah, the game definitely got a nice little shot of cash because they made these changes. And I think with the introduction of more varied damage types, it will be interesting to see how everybody builds their base and what to damage. Because you could pretty much at this point you could pick 2 main damage types and have them fully buffed. Maybe a third, but I think then you're gonna have to give up countermeasures or something. So at this point in time, you can pick two damage types for turrets. So as we get more added, it should be interesting to see how bases start developing.
Yeah.
I vote next slide.
I'm cool with it.
All right.
He threw this one in there.
So what state of the game changes? You want me to read it?
Sure.
Captains. I think you have to do it that way. We had a change to the game while back where SSKP enhancements and smart warheads and potentially other specials were no longer items that could stack. We did not remove this combination from players' turrets when the change happened, but you were no longer able to build or refit turrets into this configuration. This combination of invalid caused some players to have items stripped off their turrets. The intention of Secure Base was to fix people who had used unsavory means to gain an advantage. It was not intended to punish players who were playing the game as intended. The team is working to get a list of everyone who has been affected and will be crediting them with build tokens. I will have additional information about this in the morning. Thank you for your patience.
So everyone message Padre in the morning.
I am giving out coins now because your base was stripped of something, and I think it's what I guess what they're saying is like I had some older turrets that had some items that were stacked that couldn't currently be stacked when they made the changes, but they were still there. So I'm sure that some of my turrets out front probably are stripped, but they're just fodder anyway, so it wasn't.
Yeah, the same's happened with me. A couple of my turrets are out front being stripped.
Yeah. So
I think they were ones that I had hyenas on, I think.
Yeah, I think most people it's going to be whatever they had the hyena on, or if they still have a hyena, that one's going to be stripped. But in today's combat, there is no Literally no need for a hyena, so it doesn't matter what was taken off. But hey, someone will get some build tokens. Save those for the next OP.
Yeah, and hopefully they're not 1-day build tokens. If they give them out right, there should be a new denomination, like a 3-day build token with some sort of limit, as opposed to the 1-days at this point are useless because you have to spend them.
Oh, so I get punished for not having any SSKP enhancements on my turrets?
Yeah, you should have done that.
For having them. Yeah.
Mike and Steve told me, so I knew to put SSKP on everything.
On everything, yeah. So you get all the build tokens.
I've got 400 tokens coming.
Nice.
Yeah. He had 24. So, okay. Let's move on, I guess. VXP weekend, same as last VXP weekend. The same tricks we talked about last time. If you have any conquerors to rank up, put them in front, use them as tanks, and have your ships with weapons on them behind it. And you can potentially get significantly more points and not lose your PDE halls behind it. We've talked about this probably 3 or 4 times. So, anybody else have any thing on VXP weekend?
Kind of wish they would have given us something more directly related to that Proto-Centurion Hall to rank it.
I'm kind of wondering what the target's going to be.
So am I. I'm wondering whether or not we're going to get a siege target as well as an assault target.
Because it's like the target's similar to what you may encounter in the current assaults. Like, I would like to see the regular one, but if it's something like, an SSRB, an SSR subsector resource base. Yeah, SSRB. If it's something like that,
well, but they're just doing the regular 105s from the last 2 times, right?
I don't know. It didn't say it's the same one. It said this target is similar to what you may encounter in the current assault cycle. I don't know if that means it's going to stay the same or what. But given the atmosphere with everything right now, I'm kind of, gun-shy.
I took it as that was staying the same, and this is just like a copy and paste, except for the Proto-Centurion part.
Yeah. They like their copy and paste. So.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one. All right. This is one of our new FM prizes. Earth's done a little exploration with it. Sent me a video earlier. It's an interesting change to the game. Rampage provided a little bit of extra information that's not in the blueprint. That it has the health of these is 18,000, has a range of 16 and a reload of 1 second. The mechanisms on how these work, these can only be put on Conqueror and Defender hulls, is on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a drone health cost of 38.7K. And what it does is every time your drone takes damage, when the drone dies, this 38.7 appears to be inflict damage. Once it dies, inflicts that damage onto the host ship that launches it.
I think it takes it out as it launches. Like regardless, if you launch one, I think you go down 38K.
Okay.
Isn't that how the KDs work? I don't own a KDs, but I thought that's how the KDs mechanism works, so I assumed it would be similar. But all said and done, 15 of those, you're going to lose about 5 point something million.
Yeah, like 550, 560.
550,000, not million.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
581.
Whatever. We don't do math live. I thought we learned that lesson.
Did math in my head, Mr. Calculator.
And then the question is, does that drone health cost, is that the actual amount, or do you cut that in half as well? Just saying.
Well, Well, I watched Earth's video, and he was taking about around 5 minutes of damage using a Warden, and I'm not sure how much armor you have on your Warden per drone that died on the Warden, which has a higher repair efficiency than a Conqueror Hall. I'm not sure Earth's here. The other observation I had on the video that he made is that we see on the right-hand side, it has a death explosion with a range of 115 and a splash of 50. I don't know how those two interact. They've been combining those two for a while. It doesn't put it out to a range of 165. I'm not sure. The splash feels redundant. But the thing that I noticed is it appears to have a moderate to low, relative to what we're normally seeing, minimum splash number, which means as you radiate out from the center, like if this dies on top of you, you're going to be taking pretty much the max damage. But if you're near the edge of the range, you're going to be taking significantly less damage. I'm not even going to really guess at a number, but some of the previous numbers we've seen on mortars or siege cannons or whatever, anything that provides splash, those numbers at the edge can range from like 40% of the total damage, 15 or 20, like 40 at the bottom to like 85 at the top. It just means that as you go out from the center of the splash, you're going to be taking less damage. This is not a stat that they show us. And if Earth comes back, or anybody else that has experience with it. Okay. Anybody else that has experience with this, it appears that there's a pretty severe drop off in this damage as you get further away from the where the drone dies and the epicenter of the explosion. I'm sorry, go ahead, Earth.
It is quite interesting when you take them into a base though, and you've got got your ship parked there, and your drone goes up, and it reaches the gate, dies, and 2 gates disappear and 6 turrets. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. But the thing I did notice. Okay, go ahead.
In PvP, people are saying that some of the impact cruisers are taking them out that quickly that they're not getting close enough to do a significant amount of damage. So that's about all, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so that means that at a range of probably the impact cruiser has a range of 110. So maybe if it takes it out at a range of 100, and it's just sort of taking over damage or whatnot. And I noticed this on the video that you put together with the first part, where TSM and you were involved in like a base hit, where it seemed like the ships that were a decent distance away, but well within the 115 range, were not taking noticeable damage.
No, when they get closer, they do massive chunks. What I found as well is that I actually hit TSM's base, and I just stacked up my MSCs just to see how quickly they would die. Mm-hmm. Ran through his base, and as soon as I broke down the walls, one drone come out. I didn't manage to make it to his fleet. 4 drones, and I was dead. Entire fleet. So it really depends, because obviously only doing pass-through damage with missiles and stuff like that. Ballistic obviously they've got a lot less deflection against. So with all your buffs and everything else like that, and obviously a quicker reload rate on a lot of stuff, they die very, very quickly. So you do have that advantage of them being further away.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, the fall off you get between the main damage at being at the epicenter of where this dies versus the minimum damage being at the extent of, that basically the closer you are to it, the more damage you take, and it falls off accordingly. And we don't know what that number is, but that appears to be playing a huge role in the functionality of this, because you did the base hit with TSM, and then you did sort of a stage fleet versus fleet with, I'm sorry, I forget the other guy's name.
It was Rocco from KD, I think.
Okay. He had staged up a missile storm cruiser, and you had your Warden, and he wasn't able to kill it until it was basically right on top of him, and he was taking significant chunks of damage. It took 5 or 6 of those to kill his MSC.
Yeah, and obviously he had full missile loadout, which obviously adds to your explosive deflection as well. Mm-hmm. So that does make a difference, as well as the amount of weapons that you've obviously got. So if you've got a fully weaponized impact cruiser, then they do obviously kill it further out, so it's going to do less damage. Whereas if you've got one that's a spotter, for instance, and has only got like one weapon on it, then obviously you're going to take a ton of damage when it gets close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have anything else? I mean, the main takeaway is if you're going to kill these things, kill them as far away from your ships as possible.
Has anyone tried drone versus drone yet? It doesn't do. Does it even have an attack weapon?
Yeah, it has a. It does drone damage of 30, basically 36K with a multi-shot of 4. So basically 9,000 deflection damage with a reload of 1 and a range of 16. So it's got to get really close.
What kind of weapon is it though?
Explosive.
Right. What kind of weapon though? That's the damage type.
The new one. I don't know. It's not a mort. I didn't see anything coming off of them.
That's what I mean. Is it a rocket? Is it a mortar? Is it? I mean, what the hell is it?
It doesn't show.
Oh boy.
Rockets tend to not show that well, or scatterguns.
So then, why can't it target buildings on land?
It can target buildings on land, but only if they're within the 16 range.
Yeah. It's only got a range of 16.
See, I've had people tell me that they've been testing them, and when they kill everything on the water, if there's nothing on the water at all, no ships or no buildings, the drones won't launch.
They will launch, but they'll sit still once they can't hit anything anymore. So if everything else is out of range, then they'll just stop, because obviously they can't attack anything.
So if you target, say, the island, and you're sitting outside of the channel, it's not going to go down the channel and try and hit the island?
Only if it's within whatever you're targeting is within 16 range from the water.
Right. What I'm saying is that people are saying that like the base is still up, the island's still there, all the water targets are dead. If the water targets are dead, this doesn't launch. You're saying it launches, but it sits there. Why is it just sitting there if it can it not hit things on land?
It can hit things on land, but only within the 16 range. So if everything is further than 16 away, then it's not going to do shit.
Right. But it doesn't move then? It just sits there?
Yeah, that's what I seen earlier on.
So you have to drive your ship that has the drones close enough to the island for it to launch and attack the island?
Or to die and do damage to the island.
Yeah, that's asinine. Yeah. Why wouldn't it act like a regular drone and drive towards the target?
You would have thought it would have got as far as close to it as possible, wouldn't you? But it's kind of a bit weird. Obviously, I mean, I've only tried it in like one base up to now, so I don't really know too much. But from what I've seen earlier, it's a bit weird. But they do tend to work fairly well with targeting ships.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it not targeting anything that's on the water. It's when there's nothing on the water left. Wonky shit happens.
Well, it's kind of an advantage that it's only got a range of 16, because it means that it can't reach past a land tile to target something that's on the outside of your base if you're defending. So it won't actually sail towards something.
Right, but if I have a gunboat with a range of 12 on something, I mean, it's going to drive to try and get to the target. It's not going to just sit there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. What I'm saying is, I think the reason that they've done the range for 16 is that if you're using it in defence, you can't just drain them out by having like something on the side.
I see.
If you know what I mean. So if you've got walls in between, obviously they weren't going to go past the walls, and then because of the range of 16, it doesn't go across the land tile on the outside of your base. So any target that's even riding up on the land, it won't go backwards towards that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, because that's one of the things I looked at was like between that short range, the combat speed of 100, and the unprecedented turn speed of 10,000. It seems this is not your grandfather's drones as far as defending your base, because if somebody wants to set up, they're going to have a hard time catching that drone before it gets out of your base and starts coming after them. It seems like it'd be difficult for you to just sort of, like back in the good old days, you just sit outside and target those and then splash out the rest of everything. But this is going to get out of that base pretty quickly, and it's not going to get stuck like you're saying. It's not going to get stuck with using something to have it target.
In attacking mode, it does get stuck on oil slicks. It just spins because of the speed of it, the 100 combat speed. It crashes into the ground and then just spins around for ages until the oil slick disappears.
Okay.
Just an observation from earlier.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting weapon. I think it'll be, once people kind of figure out what it can and can't do, I see it being annoying.
Well,
in situations.
It's annoying, and it can be annoying. It can be devastating. There's various different ways that it can come across, and it really depends on what the attacking fleet is, if it's in defense, whether or not the person's online. If you're attacking, because obviously you can't hold the drones in if you're attacking and they're online, because they just automatically come out. If they're offline, you can press the down key, keep the drones in, as long as you don't actually target a specific building. They don't go anywhere. So
yeah,
I mean, it's weird. At least the way I look at this drone, it's odd that it's like, this is a drone you don't want to kill. You want them to have that one drone just hanging out, and you don't want to kill it. I mean, that's the weird part about it, as far as I look at it.
You want to kind of target over the top of it, because that's what I tried to do earlier. Was I tried to rush as quickly as I possibly could so I could target something else other than the drone. But it's an odd kind of thing, really. It's really weird.
Because it's not going to get through deflection.
No, it's counterintuitive. That really, what you'd expect.
Yeah. All right, are we done with the haymaker? We can move on to our next FM technology, reload buffer. We've been seeing a lot of buffers, and they all seem to have a similar mechanism where they have a limited range if you put them on anything that can hold them. It's got 2,000 power consumed, so you can't put it on resource generators, but you can put it on warehouses, labs, whatnot. And it provides an increased amount of decrease in reload, as opposed to the outpost, which is across your entire base, but with less potency. The one thing that is missing that probably a lot of people might have liked is countermeasure reload. But anybody have thoughts on the reload buffer?
Interesting, but not kind of as helpful as other things can be. I think it's the best way to put it. Especially on warehouses, because that 130 range isn't giving you a lot of scope to play with.
No, I mean, yeah, it's unless somebody's sitting there trying to pound on your outpost. If you have like a timeout base, then I can see some potential use in it. Basically having their damage, or it's even having their damage. I don't know. We don't even know how the math works anymore. But yeah, it is interesting, and we have a lot of these buffer specials that are tactical modules or whatever they're called that work much better on your outpost. So we get the splash one that decreases splash, one that decreases projectile speed. There's a lot of flexibility associated with this whole thing, but they are heavy. You're not going to be piling a ton of these onto anything. So, George, Padre, anything on the reload buffer?
Not yet. I haven't played with a lot of stuff yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess let's move on to the next one, guys. Okay. This is also in the FM. I compared it to the Phalanx 2. I'm not sure how it shifted down like that, but they compared it to the Phalanx 2. Less weight, half the weight. In this instance, it doesn't have the penetrating defense, but it has increased accuracy, increased range for the same reload time, and it is limited. So in case you want to replace a Phalanx 2 or a Phalanx 3, and you're not worried about your pen defense, it's the way to go. And you're weight limited.
Yeah. The other thing that I would like to know is whether or not when a Phalanx tags something, does that carry across to the MDS and the other way around?
It should, yeah. It definitely should. It should be across your whole side of things. It should work that way. Whether it does or not might be, something that we haven't figured out yet, I don't think.
Well, that's what I mean, because it's a different type of. It's not a Phalanx as such as it's an MDS. So whether or not these two will tag independently or both a tag will count for both could make a difference as well. Like if you've got a bit of extra weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way countermeasures have been working in the last 4 or 5 months has been a mystery to a lot of players.
Yeah, it's something that we were going to look at testing anyway. Me and TSM were talking about it earlier. We're going to do some testing, some countermeasures. We've got a bunch of tokens lying around for different things.
Okay, cool. Anybody else on Missile Defense System 1?
Man, I don't know. With all the tweaks they've done in the last couple of months on CMs, fuck all, who knows?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on and see what we got next. Hyper 10. This is a new sort of special. There's a Hyper 20 or, it's interesting. It provides very little weapon weight or total weight, 5%. Increases your projectile speed by 10. Splash damage reduction by 10. Evade bonus by 10. Bonus combat speed by 10. It sort of feels like a filler. Like, okay, I don't have any.
Has anyone figured out if it stacks with anything?
Or doesn't stack with anything? Is that what you mean?
Stack with anything? Yeah. I mean, I haven't taken a look yet, so.
I haven't looked.
To be honest, I haven't looked. To be honest,
I haven't even gotten it. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
You slacker.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even need to get it in order to figure out if it stacks and stuff. No, I didn't play around with it that much, but it's sort of an interesting, like, it feels like a filler to me. Like, if you don't, like on my Warden, I only have X number of special, I still have specials open. Like there's certain ships where I don't have all the specials filled at this point in time. And Okay, I might as well throw this bad boy on. Does it feel like that to anybody else, or?
Yeah, kind of. I get what you're saying. I have a few ships like that.
It seems like something you would put, like, you know, how they have just the upgrade, whatever, evade upgrade or whatever like that. Just throw this on and get all those things. It's just like an update to those.
Yeah, and that was the question I originally had. I haven't even experimented with, like, can you put multiple hypers on a ship? Can I put 3 or 4 of these on? I don't know. I didn't. Okay, well, 2 at a time, but yeah, and it is limited. Yeah, so
everything's limited.
All right. All right. Should we move on? Because I think we're going to see Hyper 20 soon. The new Dragon armor. That's what I'm assuming this is supposed to be. This is also in the FM.
Just a quick one. The Hyper 10, you can't stack more than one of them on a ship.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. This is a new armor. It's it fits along with the previous dual armor. It's as far as basically all of its stats, except for we changed what it defends against. The build time's the same, the weight and whatnot. And I assume this was supposed to go on our Inferno Dragons. Even though it's going to be, 4 days, 5 days, 20 days to refit 4 of them.
I'm curious. I'm curious to how it's going to work comparing it to our charged armor.
Yeah.
I would look at possibly just swapping out one of these and keeping the charged across the board, if you know what I mean.
I agree with that. That's probably the route I'll take, unless somebody comes up with a build that's like 5 minutes damage.
I'm wondering if they're going to change the targets, and we're going to need this after the flag comes out.
If they change the targets, that's going to really fucking piss people off again.
You think? That's kind of a given. I don't know that they're quite in tune with how annoyed people are right now.
Well, obviously not, because look at what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's repair duration 22 minutes. It's not too bad. Same weight as anything else that's in the D5 range. Got a couple of extra armor points. It really depends on whether that extra defense is worth the extra obviously the extra repair time that you're going to take if you take a piece of charged off. So I think it's going to be a balancing act.
Charged is nice for repair times. I did like that mechanic for charged armor, but it looks like we're going back to this. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yay! Not.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
Nah, next one. Let's see what the hell we got here. Oh, yes. Primus Stroenus, whatever the fuck you say it. Fun times. Fun times. So, has anyone done this yet?
No.
So I tried it earlier with Bucks. Don't try that.
Yeah, I would suggest not using Bucks. I mean, I did auto it with Hydras. And I think I got 3.5 hours of damage. That was just like full auto, just whatever. I had a message from someone that had, I think it was a similar build to mine, just not set up for auto, and he got an 1.5 hours, I think, on it.
I mean, you can cut the damage down if you target the right things at the right time.
Like those big ass guns. Yep.
They did come out and say that they were looking at this TLC because everyone was saying it was overpowered. So they may reduce the damage on it a little bit.
It'd be nice.
Hydras work a lot better than the Bucks do, but still a fair whack of damage.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's going to be that they're going to reduce the damage. I think they're just going to change what the way the walls work, because it looked like the walls were out of the SSRB, where you couldn't shoot through them with the Buccaneer, and that's kind of crappy.
Yeah, I mean, that may be the case, but they're at least looking at it to maybe change something. So might be smart to wait a little bit and see if they do.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to before I attempt doing Prize Pack 2, but Prize Pack 1, the Buccaneers, no go at the present time.
Which is sad for people that don't have Hydras. Like me.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, isn't it? It's the same thing as with the Hunter and the Fang Teeth, isn't it? Same thing all over again. Same bullshit, different day.
Yeah, they'll adjust it. I'm not going to even look at it until about day 5 anyway, because that's how I do my campaigns.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
Crap. All right, well, I guess I have to do this now.
Yep.
See, and it's that kind of, I mean, everyone I think is like that, where it's like, oh fuck, it's like they're more chores now, and I don't know if they quite get that we're not enjoying this.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen this target, but I mean, most of the TLCs, they're just not very engaging. They're not fun. They're just very punitive.
Well, it's not only that. It's targets that we've been force-fed for the last couple of months anyway through raid targets, and then they come out as a TLC. So you're already fucking bored of them when you get there, and then you go, oh shit, not this again. And that's kind of what makes it more boring and less engaging than what it would be if it was even a new target.
It's lazy game developing. So, hey, let's just recycle the shit we already made and have already, worn the hell out into this.
Yeah, target fatigue.
Yeah, and at the same time, I guess their thought process is, okay, at the end of the cycle, everybody's already got a fleet to do this. So we'll give them the same one, but I don't know.
But this is under evaluation.
Or you could get a new target and tune it to the fleets that everybody's got.
That would be even better. But like I said, that costs money for the company, I think. Why would they spend money when they're not making any for the last 2 months?
I mean, the TLCs is supposed to be to have, people have availability and access to stuff, I don't know that you want to make them this punitive. I mean, that was 3.5 hours for Prize Pack 1. And I mean, granted, I did it on auto. That's true. But still, it's Prize Pack 1.
So it's tuned for the Proto-Centurion, right?
No, I heard that got smacked around too. What?
To be fair, George, your Hydra build's built for SSRBs as well, isn't it?
Currently. No, that's my raid build.
Well, yeah, well, it's probably different to a lot of other people's. It's very.
Yeah, I've been getting told that a lot recently. I don't know what the hell the deal is. It's not like I don't share my builds.
No, yeah, I know, but it's I think a lot of people changed their build in the last raid. Possibly a lot of the ones that drive and don't auto change their build in the last raid of the cycle.
I am a lazy pirate. I will admit that. That's true.
You probably didn't. So
that should be the goal, is to auto these boring targets. I mean, you should.
If I had to drive, look, and this is the honest truth, if I had to drive all this shit between TLCs and FMs and raids and because this is all me against the computer. Like, if I have to drive every single one of those things, I'm quitting the fucking game.
Oh no, it's ridiculous if you have to drive them all. That's why I quit building skill hulls, I'd rather take a little bit more damage, and then because I made the mistake of building the Phoenixes and ignoring the Skyfires, and then when the 85s came out, I could do them, but it was about the most painful month I had until I got the Skyfires built.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I mean,
always build auto.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting conundrum. I would like that the new targets, you have to hit them, 100 times, and then you should have the technology to hit them on auto. Because one of the reasons that I think a lot of people started playing this game, like at the very beginning, because all the games on Facebook at that point in time were click a button and this is what happens. Mafia Wars, or it was just random shit that happened to you once you clicked the button. And I sort of like the idea of the newest targets you drive, and then you can progress yourself into an auto situation. That's why I didn't like the way they released the technology for the Mana Core, where they gave us the auto first and then gave us the skill later, much too late for people that weren't going to coin them to be successful with them on the first go through in the raid. That just felt backwards to me. And I don't like the idea that people feel like they should be able to auto everything from the very beginning, because that was sort of the point of this game that made it different from the other Facebook games at the start, was that you were actually your skill or effort or whatnot, you paying attention and interacting with the target and figuring it out was part of the game. And
well, there really wasn't that many PvE things to do back in the day. I mean, this, and that would be great if it was only a couple of PvE things to do in the game. Now with the proliferation of as many as we have, no way. I mean, what I would rather have them do is give us a bigger tree. So like, here's the hull, and then you can choose your special. And that special is going to determine if you're going the auto side or the skill side, and you can only choose one, and that closes off the other tree. And that way you get to choose as a player which way you want to go going forward. And in the TLC, they can do the same exact thing. So if you got one in the raid and then the TLC comes out, you don't lose out because you can go in and do the same thing and get the other one that way. I mean, it's not that hard. Other games do multiple trees, you know what I mean? Or multiple branch trees, I should say.
As opposed to this your regular, never mind. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, when something is, the easy way, in my opinion, is to, I think we're talking about slightly different things, because I think the new targets you should have to pay attention to until the point where you feel like you've mastered it. And you get the technology afterwards to basically auto it afterwards, after you feel like you've beaten this target with the quote unquote skill haul. And then you can move on to, that is your big challenge at that point in time.
Yeah, but why would you force the players into doing something like that? Because I'll tell you right now, I cannot wait for the day that I can scrap my Fangtooths. Like, I hate those. The Hellwraiths, I scrapped them recently. And part of me was a little sad, because that was awesome figuring that thing out just before they went live with all that crap. And then, on the other hand, by the time the end of that raid came, I was glad as hell. I couldn't stand driving the motherfuckers anymore. I think that's where I got turned off, because before that I used to love subs, but since then I can't stand driving them.
Okay.
Let the players pick their gameplay and go down the path that they want. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause the game has changed, but yeah, it's all right. The prizes are good, and it's under review as far as the damage. So I might wait. And the other thing about targets on VXP weekend I mean, I used to make a big push for, and I still would, make it a mega campaign because we didn't have any mega campaigns last time. But during VXP weekend, where you're basically going out taking damage, either make it a mega campaign and a repeat, or make these 2-week campaigns. Because in week 2, we're not going to see, I doubt we're going to see anything that's of relevance. So everything gets pushed into raid week, followed by the XP weekend with the new campaigns. It doesn't make sense from the player perspective in my mind. Somebody eating pistachios?
I don't know what that is.
I've got a keychain in my hand.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if it was pistachios or what was going on there.
Detoxing
All right.
sucks, huh?
What?
I said detoxing sucks, huh? He has to have something in his hand distract him instead of going out.
Okay.
Never mind.
I got you. I got it.
Okay. All right. And you can get a good amount. I think it's 12 mana core build tokens here. And here's the Hyper 20. It's no. This is one. No, I mean you went away from it because there's the next one. I think is 12. So the Proto-Centurion, you get 4, right? 4. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. We can move forward. Hyper 20, another special that we had before, and just a better version. The weight to I think the other one was +5, so basically it's linear as far as the progression here. Thoughts? It sounded like a little bird toy.
I don't know yet.
I don't know what bird toys sound like, but yeah. Okay. Let's move on. All right. Another reinforced armor. It should be in the retro.
Well, it's still not in the retro, is it?
Oh,
it makes it worse than it by stats because it's not in the retro.
Yeah. And the big problem I had with these reinforced armors is it jumps to the assumption that the player base knows the per salvo damage of the PvE projectile that's hitting them. And, so we can make some sort of calculation or some sort of deduction. This reduction in resistance will be counteracted by this increase in ship deflection. We don't have that information. So these feel awkward, and I don't quite understand them. Last show, Dr. Death was he refit one during the show. He did the reinforced reactive armor, and he replaced it on a ship that had RA3, and he was taking the same damage the whole time. So this is something, if you're pushed right up at the top of right up, you're at 98% resistances or 90 whatever, high 90s, so that this ship deflection makes a difference. It's confusing the way they're pushing them out, and I'm assuming this is like another 27-day build time. I didn't have time to look at that because they're not short build times. The other reinforced armors, I think, are 27 days each if you have the R&D today.
Well, Scorpion Sting's being pulled from the game at current time. Just to let everybody know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's already been pulled.
Yeah, it's not in the game at the moment.
Okay. Alrighty. So, any thoughts on the reinforced layered armor? Besides, they need to give us data mining in order to figure out if we should use it.
Yeah, definitely need more info.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can move on. If anybody. Another limited countermeasure. This one does have the penetrating defense that the other one does at that level. It's a slight improvement over what it's mentioned, because in the flavor text it says Phalanx 3. So you got increased range of 12, increased accuracy of 5, and
lower weight.
Slight lower weight. Not a huge reduction in weight, but
how do these compare to the Phalanx 4?
The Phalanx 4 has a larger range, as I recall, and a salvo of 9, and it has a penetrating defense of plus 15. But I think it's the weight of a Phalanx 4 is like 825 or 850. So it's more of a weight reduction than anything else. And you can call me out. I'm just trying to remember the numbers from.
Yeah, no,
you're close.
You're close because I remember some of those, but I was just kind of wondering because I mean, if I use Phalanx, I never hardly ever use 3s or 2s anymore. So I was just wondering how it compared.
Yeah, it feels more like a weight thing, and I'm not even, that's where it feels like your main advantage is.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they compared it to why they even designed it around or compared it to the Phalanx 3. I mean, did they just pull, hey, this is what everyone was using on the Zealous and not realized why we were using it on the Zealous? I mean,
well, because it's better. It's obviously better than the Phalanx 3. If they compared it to the Phalanx 4, they'd be like, oh, well, maybe it's not better than that. They can show an obvious difference, an obvious bonus relative to the Phalanx 3. And we're probably going to see Missile Defense System 3 out some point soon, right?
Well, this one definitely has more chrome attachments from AutoZone, so it has to be better.
It's faster. Sure.
Just look at the damn thing. Look at all the shit they stick on there. That thing's awesome.
It needs a Summit Racing sticker on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a send nude sticker on the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has hydraulics or a trunk, train horn, but yeah, that's probably a train horn on the top right.
Well, it would fit very well on the bus.
You can tell that me and Padre have worked on cars before.
It's if you put the lowered cannon mount with it, every time it shoots one down, it says "Not today, SA."
Righty. Well, okay. And you're
before this gets weird.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, they probably should have got off an hour ago. All right. Scorpion Sting Elite, which has been pulled from the game. I'm assuming the prizes are going to be the same. But I heard they introduced the Cold Snap to this one, which is an explosive damage type. We definitely have a different game designer in here that's adding the third damage type in such a brazen manner.
I like his moxie.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Wow.
Well, we already had the Cheeto thing, which was a third damage type in this type of thing, which players didn't really like.
But at least that was pretty easy to counter. You put one Gale on there and
and it worked 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But the 1%, it did piss me off.
Piss you off like crazy, yep.
Yeah. But this is the one where you get 1 day, 3 days, and then this is the one where you got the 12 days. So you get 12 days of mana card codes.
Ooh.
Once they reintroduce it.
Aren't you limited to like 10?
You are limited to 10. I'm maxed at 10 at this point. Yeah, you're gonna have to spend them. Yep, for the escalation weapons, they're gonna come out next raid.
Yeah, the ones
or
that
after next
do
raid.
any more of.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. I was waiting until day 5. on.
Okay. Well, since this was a punitive target, so and it's off the map, so if it's an easy target, go ahead and do it. From the Ashes, appropriate title for a Phoenix campaign. And I have not tried this because I still have a ton of Phoenix tokens. Anybody tried it? Is it the same as last time?
I haven't tried it. I haven't tried either one of them.
Okay.
At this point in time, for something like Phoenixes, I feel like they should just open it up to Conqueror fleets. That way, a little player that needs stuff can just run their single onslaught through there and do the dang target. Because what's the point of these ships? Who uses?
Well, yeah.
Who uses this anymore? It's not a relevant hull. So what does it hurt Kickside to give it away to smaller players so that they can use it in smaller targets and catch up?
Well,
I mean,
so
they
can
just gave away a ton of Kobe shards.
Yeah, or
I don't know if
in a
they
year
did
from
those
now, or maybe because in a year from now, so they can sell for $9.99.
That was a good deal.
I don't know.
That one deal.
Okay, well, let's move on from the Ashes. Skyfire Elite, it's a very similar one. Any thoughts, anybody?
No, if I do it, I'll auto it too.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Not even sure why I have this in there. That might have been the end of slides. So, okay. What's the next one, Grimace?
The crack is strong in this one.
Yeah.
That's
gonna be cool
I forgot.
When they introduce a world map repair modifier, or so you can do that. Just kidding.
Yep. So, that's the end of the slides, and I'll go ahead and introduce post the link in case anybody would like to join the show, and then potentially afterwards the after show. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to say about the current state of what's going on?
Where's the snoring button?
Well, it's not snoring. It's just, I mean, we've already seen this stuff pulled. I mean, I'm just wondering if, like, the test environment, the test server that they use, is like, why is it so different from the server that we play on? If they're testing this stuff at all, why do they have to pull everything after it's been put out?
Years ago, there was someone that had mentioned that because of the way that they have it set up, because of Facebook, that the test environment, when it goes from the test environment to our environment, things happen. I never got an answer, and I've never actually asked again because this was years ago. But if that is still true, I'm not sure why they can't mirror the Facebook environment into their test environment. You know what I mean? Unless there's some sort of conversion or something that Facebook does to the code after they send it in. You know what I mean? I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I do remember a couple years ago, someone had mentioned that it was something with going from from the test server into the live servers because of Facebook. There was something about Facebook tied to it. And honestly, I'd forgotten that until you just asked. Until you just said that, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I remember that.
Yeah, because everything that we see appears to get jerked back because it's we still haven't even seen the new base parts targets that were put out over a month ago, and they were melting people's faces, and they pulled them back and like, oh, we'll get them back. We're in a 1 month transition period, and we were supposed to be getting the new ones at this point.
We have the SSRBs.
No, we're also getting other ones. They're going to change the Scorched Defense grids at some point. They tried to change them a month ago with a 1 month transition period. Yeah.
So the month transition period's over, so now it's like, surprise, jump in.
Yeah. I mean, the way they're doing stuff, they could just sneak it in tonight, and they would feel okay with it. And the way things are going, that
We
they would
told
just,
you.
yeah, we told you to be over at that point. We gave you an extra day, even though you're not seeing these targets. My guess is because those targets that were melting our faces, I assume, were set up for the Proto-Centurion or some bit of Proto-Centurion involved with it. So now they're confused on what to do. I don't know. It's odd, the fact that it just appeared to be a situation where you dial down the damage a bit, right?
I would think, yeah, but
yeah,
what I think and what they do sometimes don't quite match. Sometimes not even the same freaking zip code.
So, alrighty, but yeah, everybody, I would expect to see something happening with that soon, and I hope they give us the month transition period that they told us about. But anybody else have anything they want to discuss?
Nope, sorry.
Okay.
I feel like pizza tonight. How's that?
Okay. We can talk about Grimace's new haircut.
I got a new haircut.
Yeah, we'll tell you about it later.
Sweet.
We just kind of like nicknamed this update Trainwreck Tuesday. It's kind of
what Tuesday?
Trainwreck Tuesday version. Trainwreck Tuesday version 3.5.726. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. It seems to happen quite often. Good. I'm not sure. Okay,
Padre started saying something. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Did he lose his microphone again?
No. I just got a call from the missus, so I'm gonna have to run off.
Okay.
But
all right, man.
Thank everyone for having me.
Have a good night, man.
Talk to you all later. Good night, pirates.
Later, people. All right, I guess we'll log off, and the Hangout is still in the YouTube chat in case anybody would like to join the show, but we're going to end things here, but we'd be happy to talk to you later. And good night, people.
Night, everybody.
Take it easy.